All right, we're going to get started with our city council meeting here in a minute, but we've got a couple of things to do before we start. And our first thing that we're going to do tonight, I'd like to have our own council member, Ward 1 Representative Hallie Grease, come up here if he would, please. And let's have all the council come up. And Hallie is completing his fourth year on the Des Moines City Council. And it has been an honor, Hallie, to serve with you. And I think that you've got in there. You have done what is necessary for Ward 1. You've been to almost every meeting and neighborhood meeting possible. And I know that you knew it was going to be about a 1 hour a week commitment, but I think it turned out to be maybe a little bit more than that. But I'd like you to say a couple words, but for all of us, I want to thank you for your 4 years of service and willingness to serve the citizens of the city of Des Moines, and especially those in Ward 1. Hallie.
I just want to thank these guys. The city of Des Moines really functions well because of these guys, because of city staff. I came in, there was a huge learning curve. I had a lot to learn. Staff was wonderful. Staff was tremendous. And I think that reflects all of our sentiment. Staff's phenomenal. And so thank you, staff. You know who you are for all your hard work. Thank you to the residents of Ward 1 for putting your trust in me. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you. Hopefully I did a good job representing you. So thank you for that. I think that's all I've got.
All right, let's get Hallie. I'd ask each of the council members quickly to, say a couple of words, and because we're on TV, we're live, and we'll give you a copy of all this great stuff.
I'd just like to wish you all the best, Hallie, you and your family. And I know when you first came on board, you had just graduated from Drake Law School. And, you look at the list of the 10 most stressful times in a person's life. Hallie had just graduated from law school. He had just had a home, just had a baby, and was starting a new career. I mean, I don't know how you survived, but you did. And the comment,
City Council.
Yeah, and then council on top of it. And I'd always ask Hallie in the back room, how's it going? And his comment was, I'm living the dream. So good luck to you, Hallie.
Hallie, I'm unique of everybody here because you're my council member for a couple more weeks, and I'm really pleased you have been. One of the things that I think would that nobody else can appreciate is all the different information that comes at us as a council member. I remember being on the council for weeks or months, and some issue came up about the airport, and I think I said to somebody privately, we run the airport? Like, how can it be one more thing that we have to learn and be expert on? And for the people watching, I want them to know the admiration I have. You are a really, really smart person that does the homework when nobody else is watching. You came prepared for every meeting, and it enabled you to make really wise decisions. And I compliment you for that. And a council like this needs different skills and abilities, and you've added that, and I'm very appreciative for it, and I think the city's stronger as a result.
Hallie and I both have something in common. We were the two that tested the runoff program. And now we've got Bill Gray. It's amazing. They both came out of Ward 1, but Hallie's wisdom and wit will be missed. And I would like to say I was really impressed at how well prepared you were for every single meeting, and it didn't seem like you missed a beat. Congratulations.
Well, Hallie, it appears we'll get to serve 2 meetings together. But yes, but after that, I hope you can give me some insider tips on staff and the other council members. Thank you.
Limited to staff.
Hallie, it's been enjoyable serving with you, and like they all said, you've always been prepared, and you have comments that a lot of us would never thought of because of your knowledge and that being, all these high-class lawyers we have around. And so we're going to miss you, and I wish you the best of luck.
All right. You're gonna have- Yep. In Hallie, we have looks like somebody already checked it, but it really hasn't been open. So special memento from the city council to you, and hope that it reminds you of 4 great years here serving the city of Des Moines. Congratulations. Should we make them open, or you can take it home?
Yeah, I think he needs to open it. It's
Okay,
easy.
let's-
The lid just pops off.
Thank you.
It's always 5 o'clock. All right, let's get a photo. Everybody get in here tight. We're good? All right. Thanks. All right. The next thing I think we need to do, Carl, why don't you stay right here? Zach, come on up. Carl has been selected to be our Ward 4 interim council member, and he's going to have his son, Zach, swear him in. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Carl and Zach. Absolutely.
Okay, so I think you need to repeat after me. I, Carl Voss, do solemnly swear
I, Carl Voss, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the office of Ward 4 Council Member
of the office of Ward 4 Council Member
in the City of Des Moines, Iowa,
in the city of Des Moines, Iowa,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Okay.
Thank you. Come on, brothers get to come too if they want, I mean, come on, you guys. Let's get everybody over here. You ought to just have a tight family photo.
Sure.
Okay, all right. Take your seat, sir.
You got work to do.
Yeah. All right, now. All right, Marcy Rafdahl. Come on up. All right, every year we do a holiday food projects weeks, and Marcy, I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute and talk about what's going on with the holiday food project.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the citizens of the City of Des Moines who are assisted with our holiday food project to say thank you to the community, to the businesses, the schools, the churches, and individuals who support our project, who help us gather food each year to put in the baskets, who donate funds for us to help support the gift certificates that go along with the baskets to allow the families to buy fresh meat and produce for their holidays. We have some very specific people in our community that have helped us, and I just want to give a blanket thank you to them I also want to thank the city employees who support us through our Combined Charities program and also by donating food through the period that we're collecting the food. And we're having a special Ugly Sweater Day this Friday in which employees will bring food. So thank you to all the city employees. In addition, we need to thank the Polk County Public Works employees who come to us each day during the 2 weeks we pack and sort the food. They provide transportation for picking up the food, and they also support us with their muscle and strong backs. We want to thank them very, very, very much. In addition, I want to thank staff, Jane Breckenridge, Barb Hildebrand, Rachel Sudemeyer, and Melissa Nordello-Earp, who have worked tirelessly along with Rosemary Scott on this project through the whole year to put it together. Our project starts packing today. We will be distributing the food on the 21st of December to applicants who have already been have applied and been approved. And again, we want to say thank you to each of the individuals that have helped us.
Marcy, thank you. And our proclamation quickly reads as follows. The holiday season is an opportunity for Des Moines residents to share their good fortune with neighbors who are less fortunate. And as families gather for the holidays, meals are an important part of the family celebrations. And whereas the City of Des Moines wishes to help as many families as possible to enjoy nutritious food during the holiday season, and whereas the City of Des Moines will conduct the Holiday Food Project and encourages all Des Moines residents to contribute to this effort and to provide eligible families with nutritious food for the holiday season. And whereas the City of Des Moines wishes to express gratitude to all those contributing to the success of this program and making our city a caring and responsive community. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of the City of Des Moines, on behalf of our City Council and all the citizens of the City of Des Moines, do hereby proclaim December 9th to 21st, 2013, is the Holiday Food Project Weeks, and I urge all of our citizens to join into this worthy effort. Let's give Marcy and all the people that are connected with the Holiday Food Project a big hand and wish them best. All right, now I have one more quick recognition that I would like to have and bestow on one of our residents, and I'd like to have Julie Evans come up. A lot of us have seen, and I'll ask Julie if she will to say a couple of words, seen a lot of projects that have promoted Des Moines and talked about Des Moines. And Julie was sort of the author and editor of a book for which I have a copy right here, and it's called Your Partner in Success, Des Moines. And it is a hardbound, lovely book, and it really expresses an awful lot of what I think personally helps us be a success. And it's partnerships. It's about us working together, the private sector, the neighborhoods, commercial sector, our city staff, and city government, all working together as a team to try to make Des Moines the #1 place in the country for a whole lot of reasons. And Julie, I want to thank you for your book, and I'd like you, before I read your recognition, maybe you could say a couple words about how and why you started putting this together.
Well, it was an honor to put together a book on Des Moines and to share the vision of the community that is a result of the partnerships that have been formed from the government to businesses to neighborhood groups to nonprofits and civic organizations. And what I like about the book is that everyone expressed their own vision of why Des Moines is such a wonderful place to live and work. And I think it captures the essence of why Des Moines is recognized for being one of the best places in the country to live and work. And it was an honor to work on it. Thank you.
She says one of the best, #1. That's one of the best. So, Julie, thank you, and in appreciation of your valuable contribution to our community in the form of this great publication, by the way, entitled Des Moines, Your Partner in Success, the city continues to secure national acclaim from news organizations and business groups because of the commitment and dedication of citizens like yourself. And I do hereby acknowledge the excellent work of Julie Evans for her contribution to our community. And I want you to know that we hand these books out to anybody and everybody that comes, and we take them to Washington. I've distributed them in Europe, and people are very impressed with a lot of the great things that are going on in and around Des Moines. And we're really not one of those flyover places anymore. Des Moines has a stake in the ground, and the rest of the world is recognizing it. So let's give Julie a big hand. I'm not going to give this to her, by the way. I'm going to keep it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to start our council meeting. Okay, Carl, I'm sure you're going to be happy to know you're not only on the City Council, but you're also on the Municipal Housing Agency Board. And so welcome to your first meeting of the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board. I'll ask the clerk to quickly take roll.
County.
Here.
Coleman. Here. Moore. Here. Reese. Here. Mahaffey. Here. Hensley. Here. Voss. Here. We have a quorum.
Item 2 is an approval of the renewal request for the 2-year extension of the designated housing allocation plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is our governing board communication number 13-597. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this or have anything clarified? Seeing none, could we have a motion to approve that renewal?
So move.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 3 is approving the conveyance to Saman LLC, Steve Smith owner, for the disposition sale of 1223 Wade Street and 3617 3rd Street. Council and board communication number 13-576. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this?
Move.
Seeing none, the item's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Item passes. Could we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have done all of our special presentations and swearings in. We will have a quick message from our own City Council member, Christine Hensley, and we'll ask those who would participate with us to stand at this time.
I'd like to just read a short poem written by Ralph Waldo Emerson on giving thanks. Giving thanks for each new morning with its light, giving thanks for rest and shelter of the night, giving thanks for health and food, giving thanks for love and friends, giving thanks for everything thy goodness sends. Thank you.
All right, we'll call our City Council meeting to order, and I'll ask clerk to take roll, please.
County.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Moore. Here. Reese. Here. Mahaffey. Here. Hensley.
Here.
Voss.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and or as amended.
Move.
All in favor say aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
before we vote, I had just a process question. There were 2 applications that were pulled. I'm going to prove it. If we're not ready, we're not ready. But could I get some information on the 2 that were pulled? Liquor license?
You're talking about C, La Pizza House, and F,
Yes.
Doll's Foods?
Yes.
And it looks like U, Smoke Shop.
I'm not quite as worried about that.
Okay. Although they're going to get an E liquor license.
Not tonight.
It's
Okay.
been pulled.
The Pizza House had an electrical inspection and then some hood problems through the fire department, so they weren't quite ready yet. And then the smoke shop were waiting an audit.
Dolls?
How about Dolls?
Dolls had some fire department issues.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll see those back probably next time, correct? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda tonight. Those are items 3 through 39, and these are routine items, and generally we enact those under one roll call vote without separate discussion unless someone, whether it's a city council member or somebody from the audience, asks one of these items to get pulled for further discussion or clarification. Tonight, Councilmember Coleman wishes to speak to, do you still want to speak to 4T?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And Councilmember Moore wishes to speak on item 14. Are there any other items to be pulled for further discussion? Seeing none, could we have a motion for the balance, please?
Move.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Takes us to 4T. 4T is approving the alcoholic beverage license application for Scores Sports Bar at 2335 Hickman Road. Mr. Coleman.
Yes, thank you. My request is going to be that we delay this for 2 weeks and ask our city manager and city legal team to do what we've done in other places of trying to go out and negotiate what I think we've commonly referred to as kind of a good neighbor agreement and some additional protections for the neighborhood around there. Two things about this application. I actually have known for a couple of decades one of the operators. She had a business next to East High School on the east side where after some incidents we negotiated a similar kind of situation. She moved her business over here to Hickman Road in a location where we also have had the need to do similar kinds of things. This was formerly a bar called Tommy's. And so I think now that we have the leverage of the liquor license, we ought to use it to our advantage and have a chance to go out and visit, ask our staff and legal team to go out and make sure that along with the police department, we're doing everything possible. I know at one time, the operator at Tommy's installed some surveillance equipment and other things. This is one of those properties that is difficult for the bar to manage because next door is a car wash. Not always are the people at the car wash patrons of the bar. So sometimes it's nice to have a kind of that visible record through the cameras. That's just one idea I have. It's not an insistence. Looks like the police chief's leaning forward. You're more than welcome to say something. But I do hear quite often from neighbors of this establishment down there at the bottom of the hill on Hickman, and I'd like to tell them that we've done everything in our power to make sure that they're operating in a high-quality way. Julie, the operator, I think has been very amenable to some of our suggestions when they were at courtside on the east side, and I suspect we'd get the same cooperation if we asked them to go above and beyond in terms of protecting their property so the neighborhood remains strong.
So do you want to refer to the manager and legal and public safety to
Yes.
give us a review and a report back prior to okaying this?
Yes, thank you.
Seven yes.
All right, takes us to 14, approving an acquisition of 1712 8th Street through donation from Half Moon Holdings, a council communication number 13-583. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. This one here is causing me great concern as you read through this. Company called OHP purchased the tax sale certificate in June of '09. And then it goes on to say that the tax deed through a subsidiary of theirs, Half Moon Holdings, took it on November 11th of 2012. and that the eightplex was demolished a year prior to Half Moon Holdings taking the tax deed. But then you read down further that the structure was demolished the same month that Half Moon Holdings took the place. And when you add the special assessments and the demolition amount together, it's $54,552. And it looks like we're being asked to just wipe this off the books and take a piece of property.
So you want to,
I'd like to refer this back to legal. It does say the cost of some of this is a personal lien against the property owner and will remain. Looks like they were the property owner when the building was demolished. And it looks like they'd taken possession of the property before it was demolished.
so you want to refer to city legal and get a full report on
Yes.
what consequences are and whether or not there's any further actions that can be taken to get full payment on amounts due and owing?
Yeah, I'd like to have a complete explanation of this because it looks like it's very convoluted. Can't tell which property owner it is that's got the lien against it.
I guess I would just ask for a clarification, and I don't know if you know this answer before we continue it. The blue letter notes that the tax deed will transfer if it's not redeemed, and I don't know what the time period is for that. But I would hate to continue this and find out that the tax deed takes hold to OHP prior to our next meeting or whenever legal can get back to us.
Looks like Mr. Delafield may have
Part of the answer for you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, Phil Delafield, Community Development Department. Our intent on this one is that the costs for the demolition of the public nuisance process would be assessed as a personal judgment against the prior owners. Half Moon took title to it after that fact, so our intent is that the costs for the public nuisance action would be collected as a personal judgment. This action is seeking to waive those other assessments against the property, which include water and sewer fees and so forth.
I don't have a problem with the $8,000, but when you throw $46,000 on top of it, and this is not clear as, you know, if they own the property when the building was demolished, I'm trying to figure out why we would be going back to a previous owner. The fire happened in what, 07?
The action was against the prior owner, prior to Half Moon Holdings taking control of the property, and that's who the personal judgment would be assessed against.
Do you feel as though it would harm this transfer of property if we continued this for 2 weeks?
No, I don't believe that there, Chris. No.
I'd like to continue this for 2 weeks for clarification by legal.
Oh,
7 yes.
give me
All right, that completes the consent agenda item and takes us to item 40, which is ordinances first consideration. 40 is amending Chapter 42 of the Municipal Code regarding administrative hearing and abatement process for the nuisance associated with the use and maintenance of drainage facilities. Council Communication number 13-600. Is there anybody in the audience has any questions on this?
Move.
Seeing none, it's been moved. Any discussion by the council?
Seven yes.
All right, item passes. Item 41 is amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. A is an ordinance change in conjunction with the newly constructed southwest connector at Iowa 28. B is a revision of the municipal code to agree with field connection or conditions near the World Food Prize, north side of Walnut and west of Water Street. C is accessible parking space, the west side of 2nd Avenue near the Polk County Election Office. D is a central campus student parking lot turn restriction at 2020 and 2140 Grand Avenue. And E is the parking restriction on the east side of East 16th Street, south of Hull Avenue. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to have any clarification of item 41, B, C, D, or E on these parking municipal code regulations?
I'll move 41A through E and request waiver of the pre-published for second and third readings, if I said that right.
I think there should be a correction on the last line of E. It says available for employee parking on the east side of Hall Avenue. Hall Avenue, that's east and west. And it should be on the east side of the east.
It says it's East 16 south of Hull.
Yeah, it's not on Hull, it's on East 16th.
Okay, East 16 south of Hall. That's not where I'm at, so sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Bob?
7 yes.
Okay, item 42 is establishing the Beaverdale Self-Supported Municipal Improvement District, SMID, and providing for establishment of a combined capital improvement and operation fund and the levy of an annual tax. Council Communication number 13-595. Anybody here to speak to this item?
I'll go ahead and move this item, Mr. Mayor. I didn't think one of my last council meetings would be raising a tax. But this one's self-imposed, so I think it's okay. And then the neighbors are excited about this. I think this is something that'll be really good for the neighborhood moving forward. They're excited about the streetscape and the plan that we've come up with. So I'll go ahead and move item 42.
Yeah, you've wanted to raise taxes at every meeting. We held you off to your last one.
You were good.
7 yes.
Okay, takes us to council request. This is from Councilmember Christine Hensley to speak regarding 63rd and Grand Avenue Bridge and intersection. Mrs. Hensley.
Thank you, Mayor. We are hopeful that the bridge will actually be open this week. The weather has not cooperated as much as we would have liked to. It's gotten extremely cold, but I'd like to refer this to the city manager's office. Two specific requests here, and that would be one, we have the liquidated damages that have been a topic of discussion, and there are obviously some restrictions on that, but a couple of items to look at would be, is there any way that we can talk about increased landscaping beautification as it relates to the project on the public right-of-way being key. There have been a couple of businesses that have come forward and specifically made that request that we look at that. And secondly, talking about liquidated damages, and I understand from a state of Iowa perspective that we don't have law that would allow us to do it, but I want to keep it always on the table. Those businesses have been so impacted by this project. I've never seen another project that's had the impact against businesses that this one has. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't continue to look at liquidated damages, and if there is any way in the future that they would be eligible for any of those, I'd like to have us continue to look at that, knowing the issues around that and being sensitive to that. So my recommendation would be to refer it to city manager and legal for ongoing discussions and looking at that and coming back with specifics, particularly if there are options for us that would apply to that area.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the first suggestion that we take a look at improvements within the public right-of-way that might enhance the area, landscaping improvements or other things, that seems reasonable, and we've already asked our engineering department, Jeb Brewer, to take a look at that. I think Jeb's just beginning to do some analysis to see what kind of improvements can be made within the public right-of-way as a public undertaking. On the other matter about liquidated damages, I'd like to have City Attorney Jeff Lester address it. I do want to point out that we are restricted by state law in terms of providing assistance back to property owners or businesses in this area, but perhaps it would be better if Mr. Lester would address that point.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Without getting into a lot of detail, because I'm sure the topic is going to be extremely sensitive and will be something that will have to be worked out in the future going forward. There is an extreme limitation in terms of any type of tying revenue, that type of revenue to any particular purpose. That being said, appropriate, under state law, appropriate uses of funds can always be evaluated, but I don't think that those can necessarily be tied at this point or even in the future. We'll be happy to get back to you with more detail on that, but I don't think we're going to be able to tie those two things together.
I understand. I just want to make sure that we looked at absolutely every single option because of the impact. So I'll move.
Seven yes.
All right, we've got about 1 minute here. We've got item 42-2 from council members Chris Coleman and Christine Hensley to discuss the Jackson Street Bridge. Personally, thank you both for bringing this forward. Having had a place of business there, and my father and grandfather before me on that street that leads to the Jackson Street Bridge, I think as a small child and as an adult, I must have been across that bridge thousands of times, and remember it as a sort of a noisy one going across there with the wood things on it, driving across. But in the meantime, I'm hopeful that we can come up with some sort of a plan to save it. But at any rate, Ms. Hensley and Mr. Coleman.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, again. And I believe probably the majority of us at the council table have been contacted by various people in the community, whether it's parks or other interested citizens. And I just felt it was important that we have a little bit of a public discussion on this, because we have received a letter outlining some of the options from the city's perspective, and obviously the recommendation was for demolition. What I would like to do, because of the huge amount of interest that's out there in saving the bridge, and I'm supportive of saving the bridge, I believe we have to put together a plan as to how best to do that and who would be the stakeholders and how we would move the process forward. So what I would like to do, and I guess the other thing I should just state here for the record, is based upon discussions with city staff that there is a commitment from the city's perspective that there would be dollars available that would be used for demolition that would go towards saving of the bridge. And that's a significant dollar amount. It's $750,000, I think, is the original estimate. But there is a huge amount of interest, and I am confident that we can work to save the bridge, but it will clearly be a public-private partnership, and we're going to have to work together. And I'd ask, what I would like to see us do is to refer it to the city manager's office, working with Parks and Rec, so that he can come back and give us specific plans and, kind of outline a process that we would go through, which would also include the length of time. We can't just let it go on without an ending in sight, and determination as to what that length of time would be, whether it's 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. I mean, there has to be some discussion and some reasonable time frame put around it so that we can work through the process. I know there are lots of grants and potential funding sources, but we also need to be sensitive to making sure that we're not taking money away from other projects that the city typically relies upon those same funding sources to go towards this. But as I said, I'm confident that we can get to a positive conclusion with this.
Yeah, I might also add, and I know that my opinion is probably not different than anybody else's, but I think our staff has done a great job in arming the council to make a policy decision about this. There's a huge cost to rehab the building. There's a huge cost to tear it down. The city is going to have money in it either way, and I think the letter that I saw the city manager send very clearly said, you know, our goal within our budget parameters is that the bridge stay and we can rehab it. And I just think that there's been enough rumor mill, you know, the community plays operation or operator where, you know, the story gets changed a little bit, that sometimes that's been taken out of context. And I think many of us agreed that tonight maybe we could clarify it. Nothing would make me happier than the city's $750,000 is the first gift towards saving it, rehabbing it, making it structurally sound. And that's where I'll put my energy. And I hope that the community joins us in that, and that we have creative contractors and designers and engineers that can drive down the cost, and that we have some generous people that are willing to help us save it. Because as the mayor pointed out, it really is an icon. We have a new 4th Ward council member here. It was the gateway to the 4th Ward for much of the last century. And I think it's important that we do our best and put forth our best effort to save that. I've met with 3 members of the Parks Board over the last week. I've tried to say that to each of them, and I think they're all happy with the communication. I want to compliment Ben Page and the rest of the Parks Department and Engineering Department, because I do think that they did their job by putting this issue front and center for us to make a policy decision over. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we should take the time we have before the money comes up in the CIP. My understanding is the recommendation is that it's not even going to be put in the CIP until 2017. I believe that's right. Somebody could nod or tell me.
Mr. Coleman, we'd actually put it in the CIP you're approving now, but it would be scheduled for that 2000.
Yeah.
So you'd be acting on it in some capacity this year.
So we have, time is on our side for a little while. With all those comments said and my desire that that's where we finish, I think it's always important that we acknowledge that the city doesn't have a blank check. We can't spend any amount of money on this. And you know, at some point, we won't be able to afford to do it if we don't have help.
So our
I agree with your motion.
Okay, is to refer to City Council Parks and come back with a plan and an outline as to next steps and how to move forward.
I guess quickly I would ask, is there anybody that wants to say anything? Mr. Thornton, if you'd like to make a quick comment. Ask you to. Mr. Thornton's a lawyer, so it may be more than a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. I am on the Parks and Rec Board, and we appreciate very much Councilman Hensley and Coleman, and we have worked on a project and continue to work on the project with Ben Page and the rest of the Parks Board members to save those bridges. It comes to my mind that, you know, those bridges are just not located over there for that part of the city of Des Moines. It's all of Des Moines. The Parks Board is metropolitan Des Moines and the surrounding areas. I think I said the other night at an executive committee meeting that a lot of the history of Des Moines that I used to ride around with my folks and see are gone. And that which was left from that situation are buried in cemeteries. We have certain situations in this town that we want to keep. There's a new situation rising to resurrect Riverview Park. I think that would be a wonderful situation. But given the time and the patience of the council, I think we can take care of the situation, do what's right. We have some great contractors in this city that are very familiar with building bridges, and we will work hard on it, and we will hopefully be successful in saving those bridges, and we appreciate the council's timeliness in giving us the time to work on that. Thank you both very much, and the rest of you.
Mr. Thornton, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion.
7 yes?
All right, that completes that part of our agenda. Moves us to the hearing items. First item is item 43, and we'll note that we started this at 5:07. Hearing on the ordinance amending the electric, energy, and gas franchises granted to Mid-American Energy Company relating to textual clarification of the franchise fee. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waivers requested by our legal department requires 6 votes. For those of you watching and listening, this particular item has nothing to do with the Craigness versus the City of Des Moines case. So, at any rate, I will ask if anybody has any comments. All right, I hope that it's pertinent to this particular action.
You sure you don't want the next one?
This is about the approving the 2.5%?
No, it is not.
I apologize then, I want the next one. My apologies, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. All right, anybody else?
I'll move 43A and B.
All right.
7 yes.
Okay, item 44, hearing on the ordinance amending the electric, energy, and gas franchise granted to Mid-American Energy Company relating to temporary increase of franchise fee to be used solely towards payment of the Craigness versus the City of Des Moines judgment. A is the adoption of the revenue purpose statement and regarding the use of the revenue from the electric, energy, and gas franchise fees. B is the first consideration of the ordinance above. C is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is again requested by the legal department, requires 6 votes. D is a call of a special election to consider approval of the ordinance above. And E is a call of a special election to fill the vacant office of the Ward 4 City Council member. All right, we'll now open that hearing. And I think we have one speaker already. And if anybody else is wanting to speak to this, we'd ask that you come over on the south side of the chamber, and so we get an idea how many folks want to speak to this item. Anybody else? All right.
Wendy Lucino,
Scott,
41.
you speak.
No, well, he's aware. Some of the questions I'm going to ask, he's going to need to answer. One of them, some of them we've already discussed. Wendy Lucino, 4155 53rd Street. Wanted to talk to you today about the franchise fee. One of my concerns is that property taxes increases and the increase of the gas and electric franchise fee are not the only options to repay this. In the city view that you published last week, and it mentioned the three options being operating budget, franchise fee, and property taxes. You missed one. You also have another budget called the capital improvements budget. What that is defined as, and if you don't mind, Diane.
You're going to define the capital improvements budget?
I just want everybody to understand what this is. Capital improvement budget is mainly for major improvements. This is not to take care of any basic maintenance. No salaries in the operating budget. I copied and pasted that from your capital improvement budget itself. Those are critical things to understand. So trying to address some of the expenses in the capital improvement budget to try and reduce the amount of debt on that general obligation bond, this can be done here. Some of those projects, admittedly, like Pat, there's some bridges in that clearly state they're at the end of their life, like the 63rd and Grand Street Bridge was. But there's others that are just improvements that are merely for aesthetics. In my humble opinion, when your house financially is on fire, you put everything on the table. Everything. And maybe this isn't the best time to have all the aesthetics things going through right now. I'm not saying you ditch them. I'm saying you delay them. A couple of things that I noticed in there. You've got plans for conceptual plan expenses. For example, the Beaver Street or the Beaverdale streetscape. We all want it to go through. Is this the time to spend that $150,000, $200,000? Maybe take 1 year, find it in your capital in a combination of a multitude of things. that I'm going to show on this one. This one isn't quite as good to show up there, but of a multitude of things, if you look at a multitude of expenses, one of the things that I found really overwhelming is keeping in mind that to service this bond, you only need $3 million. The 2.5% increase of the franchise fee is going to generate $5.5 million. Scott, correct me, I believe that's what you told me. If you only need to find $3 million to service the bond, I found it interesting, bullet point number 2 that points out, in your miscellaneous capital improvement budget, you have $3.2 million. That includes tree replacement, public arts, things like that. Some other things in that miscellaneous section would go to engaging partners. Basically the partners that you work with, Chris, the MPO, DART, Greater Des Moines Partnership, Civic Center, Arts Center, MPO, and NFC, NDC. Any of those people you've given $1 million to every year, maybe it's time to say our financial house is on fire. Instead of giving you $1 million for a few years, we got to give you $500,000. Because if you cut the NFC contributions on behalf of the city for the NFC and the NDC both in half for a few years, you've already generated $1 million of the $3 million that you need. These things can be looked at. The other thing is the non-essential street resurfacing, Pat, not picking on you. Street widening. There's some bridges, like I said, 63rd and Grand Street, end of its life. Some of the other ones clearly are improvement. In that 244-page document, there are lots of things that are more improvement. And keep in mind, the tree thing really hurts me because I like trees. You know where I work. We don't have a lot of cement. We have trees. But is this the time to really focus on those things? And the last bullet point just points out, Ben, again, not picking on you, but parks as well. Look at the same type of thing. What really is critical? The other thing that I wanted to mention is I sent Ben an email about cell towers. Des Moines Waterworks has to remove the cell towers from the top of the water towers because of damage. They're going to propose at Hazen Tower to move them onto the park, down. If we could get those moved maybe onto park property, Waterworks makes about $168,000 a year on those cell towers. That income can help the city, and that would hit this other bullet point, realigning some of your other revenues or generating new revenues to go along with that. A prime example, NRB, we allocate some of the CDBG money, only about $3 million of what you get. I believe you get 10 or 12 million, Chris, I'm not sure. But if you could reallocate some of that, for example, put more, maybe ask us in our recommendations next year to allocate more to the neighborhood-based service delivery instead of some of the other things that are more aesthetic. No offense, again, Phil, to community development, but we allocated money this year for 3 new planners. One thing I'm going to end with, here's my concern. This last column is the cost right now. This column here shows which one of the outer suburbs charges the franchise fees now as they are. The cost to the homeowner for that on a $150,000 house. Then it also considers your total city property tax levy. Take note, yours is already the highest, no offense. But when you do this calculation, every single community in the western suburbs, it's cheaper to live there now. You add another 2.5% to each household on that, you're adding $55 more to this column. At what point, now, I'm not a genius. And if I did these numbers, how many other people are doing the same types of numbers and saying, is it really cost effective to live here? And when you're talking about increasing this to 7.5%, making these, particularly Urbandale, close to $300 cheaper, it makes Urbandale look really good to me. Now.
Could you wind it up?
Yep.
You way over. So.
I'm going to end on this. Several of you know 3 years ago my financial house was on fire. And I looked at everything and I threw everything on the table. And there were some expenses that I eliminated that I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to live without this for very long. Surprisingly, I did. It still shocks me to this day that I lived without it for that long. But the key to it is sometimes when you really look close at how you're spending your money, you find that you really can do it.
Okay.
I'm better now, but keep that in mind.
Thank you.
I think we should let Carl take that one.
Can I ask one question to Scott? Why were general obligation bonds purchased instead of the revenue bonds? Because this was a
Thank you
revenue
very much.
expense.
Appreciate it.
That was one question I was going to ask you to answer.
All right. And Scott, maybe you might answer that for at some other moment. I would, however, Scott, and maybe I'll ask the council if they have some questions, but Scott may want to kind of quickly go over, as we consider D on the special election, why we might do this as opposed to maybe some of our other options that are out there. And Mr. Coleman, did you have a question you wanted to ask or answer? Maybe you wanted to answer Wendy's questions.
I'll let Scott take the first crack at it, but I would like to answer the question as well and move the action item.
Okay. Scott?
Okay, Mayor, council members, Scott Sanders, Finance Director. I actually was not prepared for that type of a presentation, so I'll have to answer those questions offline. To your question, Mayor, about what options do we have now in front of us? Just last council meeting, we had the bonds that were sold to take care of the payment of the judgment. So that is now taken care of, and the question is, how do we pay that debt service? And so over the next several months, if the council decides to move forward with the franchise fee referendum, that becomes an option that actually becomes more affordable for the average household in Des Moines. And so I can prepare presentations if you'd like to explain that further and kind of distinguish, if you will, the different options that are in front of the council. A couple of those have been brought up already on the operational budgets. You, more than anyone, are well aware of the difficult choices that get made in that budgeting process, and it's no different on the operating budget in the capital as well. Some very difficult decisions have been made in the past. I can come back and show you all those cuts that have been made on the capital side as well as the operational. And then the two revenue options are a property tax increase and a franchise fee increase. And those have a very different impact on our citizens. You're going to see glaring differences on the average household and even the small businesses on whether they use if the franchise fee is the option or the taxes. So I can come back. I think it might be helpful.
Well, Scott, maybe just to answer a couple of questions for me. If we did a property tax increase, what percentage of the property owners would pay that?
Understanding that in Des Moines, 40% of our land base is non-taxable. And so,
okay, so
only 60%, correct, actually pay property taxes.
Right. And so if we did the franchise fee, that same group of folks, the property owners, the 100%, what percentage of those people would pay?
On the franchise fee?
On the franchise fee.
100% that have improved property with gas and electric.
Okay.
And so the base is much larger on the franchise fee. It spreads out the cost more broadly.
All right. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we've prepared a presentation for you in conjunction with item D of this item. And whenever you're ready, Scott can go through that. A lot of the questions that have been asked are addressed in that presentation. So when you're ready.
Well, that's what I asked him to move forward with.
Okay.
Okay. I think would you like that?
We didn't understand that. So what if you can go ahead with that, Scott?
Okay. This will be brief. I've got just 9 slides to go through, and a lot of this will reiterate what was just discussed. Again, to this point, there was a $40 million judgment in that neighborhood, and the courts have decided that the payment needs to be made up front in full. And in fact, after the judgment, the final judgment on November 25th, there is post-judgment interest occurring. So it's to our benefit to get that paid and paid in full as quickly as possible. So we have undertaken a bond sale. We will close and have those proceeds available to us the first week in January. so that we can make full payment that first week in January. We do not have, obviously, we've issued that debt because we do not have the $40 million in cash sitting in the accounts. The annual debt service is about $3.1 million, and that would be over a 20-year period. So if we have franchise fees available to us at the 2.5% rate, that would generate enough to pay off the bonds in that 7-year time frame and not have to keep it on for 20 years.
And you've issued the bonds in such fashion that we have the ability to retire them early. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have either option depending on which revenue is available. So what exactly would occur on March 4th? Well, that would be the vote. The citizens would decide on whether to temporarily increase the franchise fee 2.5% to make payments that would solely be available for this debt service that was issued through the court-ordered refunds. So the extra 2.5% would only be available for the payment on this debt that was issued.
And there is a sunset.
The 7-year sunset, or if the full payment is made, if the revenues do come in higher and we're able to pay that off sooner, it would sunset at that point. And so what are the options we're looking at? Again, this is discussed briefly. The city's operating budget is one option. We have just started our next 2-year budget cycle, and we've had those discussions started, and it's a $6.4 million challenge ahead of us to get through the next 2-year budget cycle. So we already have that hurdle to get it over. This would add another $3.1 million to that figure annually. The city has already reduced the general fund budget by $28 million, and 310 employee positions have been eliminated. So additional cuts would increase that magnitude, and obviously it would dramatically impact the service levels that the city would be able to provide. Option 2 would be to raise the property tax rate. It would take a 41-cent tax rate increase over the 20-year period. That would amount to $444 of additional cost to the average household in Des Moines. That average home, according to the county assessor, is a $102,500 home. Option 3 would be to raise the franchise fee by 2.5%. For a 7-year period. The average home would pay about $3 a month. So over the 7-year period, it would be a $273 increase compared to the $444 on the property tax solution.
Would you go back that one just to clarify again? So over 7 years, the total increased cost is $273?
Correct, for the franchise fee option.
For the whole period?
That's correct.
So
$3.
over that 7 years, we divide that annually by 7? Is that correct?
If you wanted an annual amount, yes.
Okay. So it'd be
$36 a month.
Here.
a year.
$3 a month.
A year.
Or a year, I mean, a year.
Yes. That is correct.
Okay.
So then graphically comparing the two side by side, we have the $102,000 median home in Des Moines would have the $444 increase on the property tax option compared to the $273 increase on the franchise fee. For a $200,000 home, you would have an $866 total increased cost on the property tax option compared to only a $420 total cost with the franchise fee increase. And then I've thrown in a $300,000 business as a sample. That would be a $775 property tax and a $483 franchise fee.
And again, Scott, as Mrs. Hensley just said, those are the cumulative total for 7 years, not the annual.
Correct. On the franchise fee, it's over a 7-year period. The property tax is over 20 years.
Now, I thought the bond that we just approved was an 8-year bond
With the intent to refinance it
at the end
for
of
a
the 8 years.
total of 20.
But, okay.
You'll notice that 8th year is a large payment, a bullet payment, if you will, that has to be refinanced if we don't have the franchise fee as an option.
Okay.
So we would be at risk of higher interest rates 8 years from now if we take.
Which could make that number significantly higher.
Absolutely, on
Yeah.
on the property tax option. So this is already this been summarized, that the franchise fee is a charge against all improved property, whereas the property tax rate option is applicable to only 80%, 60% of the land in Des Moines. The temporary 7-year increase of the franchise fee is more affordable to the average household compared to raising the property tax rate for 20 years. Again, these are the differences that you would see for the median home. It's $171. For a $200,000 home, the difference is $446.
Is that 171 a year, or?
No, that's the total.
Over the whole 20 years?
That's the total, so that would be the 20-year property tax compared to 7-year franchise fee.
Okay.
So that's the summary. That's.
But the big, going back to the mayor's comment there, is the big unknown is the fact that if you have to refinance it at the end of the 8 years, it could be dramatically higher because we have no way of knowing the interest rate.
That's correct.
Projected out.
That is correct.
All right. Mr. Coleman, you had a question or an answer or something that you want to do?
Two things. One, just a short bit of history. I think all of us, Wendy, are very concerned about the cost of government in our community. And I know I speak for everybody here. Scott's presentation showed it. We've made very tough decisions. We've eliminated 310 positions within the city enterprise. Very few businesses or anybody else that is doing as much business and service as we are doing could cut that much and maintain their high quality of services. We've done that because we care about the bottom line. The other thing, and I want every citizen, including you, Wendy, to know this, when I was elected in 1998, our tax levy was higher that day than it is today. The City of Des Moines tax levy over a 15-year period has gone down. A penny, I think. But that penny is really important to me. Because I think it speaks to the momentum that we've had about a city. You asked specifically, for what reason would we justify the increase on the franchise fee to our citizens? And I think primarily about those that are in the median household. The more wealthy you get, the bigger value of a house. The impact of this isn't going to be that dramatic to them. Most people of high means can afford whatever solution we come up with. But that medium household income that most residents of the city live in, it is a huge thing to put an extra $171 in their pocket and to find the cheapest and most efficient way to pay this back. And for that reason, I support the franchise fee. I'm glad that you ask. It saves our taxpayers money, and that's why I support it this way. I could tell you all, this isn't a debate, I could tell you all kinds of philosophical reasons beyond that, but it all starts and ends that this is the fair and best thing to do for the taxpayers of Des Moines. It will save them money of all the options in front of us. And when it comes to the budget and why can't we take it out of the capital expense and all that kind of stuff, I know that you understand this, you've studied our city budget, but for people that heard your comments, I want to respond to that because when you throw up numbers where we're spending $3 million on a project in a year, I want people to know that we borrow that money for a road, for instance, and the lifespan of that road might be 30 years. So we pay for that over 20 years. Of that $3 million, this year we might only be paying out $300,000 of it, 8 or 10% of the total. So you would actually have to find about $30 to $40 million of savings each year to afford the $3 million savings that we need.
But for clarity.
We're not debating this, Wendy.
Okay.
Thank you.
The 3.2 million is only in the miscellaneous portion of the capital.
Okay, that's enough. Mr. Moore.
I appreciate the work that Wendy's put into this, but I think that I want to make it perfectly clear in my mind that when we take action on 44 A, B, C, and D tonight, we are starting the process of putting this referendum in front of our residents and allowing our residents to decide. They're going to basically be given 3 options on how to pay it back. And I am in total agreement with Councilman Coleman, and I believe everybody else at this table. I will, unless there's some miracle cure that comes through on this, I will be supporting the additional franchise fee of 2.5%.
Mr. Mayor.
All right. Yes, Ms. Hensley.
I echo the comments that have been made here this evening. This is the beginning of a process going forward. What I would like to ask is, I think the information, Scott, that you presented was very, very helpful, because that's a question you get, and not having seen those numbers actually tied down is very helpful. But as we're moving forward, I would like to use the council, whether it's through the workshops or we actually allocate some time at the beginning of the public hearings, to continue having similar discussions regarding the franchise fee. For example, the process, laying out the process, and the ability to opt out, and how we might do that if we can get some clarification on that. Because I want, that's another question that the citizens ask. I don't want to take the franchise fee. I want to be able to leave it with the city, and is there a way that we can designate it, or do we have some other options? So I would ask, as we make a motion to approve this tonight, that we also include, maybe it's not every single council meeting, but maybe every other council meeting, additional information for educational purposes, so there's a clear understanding of the impact of this and answering questions. And maybe we give citizens an opportunity to submit questions via the web page, or just so that we can address those and make sure that we're getting that information out there.
All right, Mr. Manager.
I just want to second Mrs. Hensley's comment. We'll be happy to prepare presentations, not unlike what Scott Sanders just did. Others on staff, Mark Godwin has got a very important story to tell that's all germane to the vote that our citizens are going to take in March. And so we'll be happy to do that. My suggestion will be to do that typically at council meetings, because I think there's more exposure at that point. But we'll do that.
I think our effort is to fully inform all of our citizens about what their options are. And I think each of us in our wards and city at large have that obligation to let them know and understand it. At this moment, I would take a motion on 44 A, B, C, D, and E.
Yeah.
You moved it?
Yes, I'll move it. The final item, calling for the special election, makes Carl a lame duck just less than an hour after being sworn in.
I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that.
7 yes.
All right, next item is 45. 45 is on the vacation of 6th Avenue and Grand Avenue right-of-way and the airspace over Grand Avenue and 6th Avenue right-of-way adjoining 505 6th Avenue, and for conveyance of easements to the Young Men's Christian Association of Greater Des Moines, the YMCA, for $1,000. Council Communication number 13-593.
And final.
A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes.
I'll move item 45A and B.
Is there anybody in the audience to speak on this? Seeing none,
Yeah,
item's been moved.
Seven yes.
Item 46, on the conveyance of a portion of the vacated north-south alley right-of-way located east and adjacent to 1423 East 16th Street to West Bank as conservator for Nalet Dock Conservatorship, the Nalet Dock Conservatorship, and Shemkur Dock Conservatorship for $25. Council Communication number 13-594. Anybody here to speak to this item? Seeing none, could we have a motion? We have a motion. It's been moved.
7 yes.
Item 47 is on the assessment of $500 penalties for the violation of the Iowa alcohol beverage laws, sale to the minor by the following. The licenses will not be issued for any pending renewal applications until the penalty is paid. A is the Come and Go number 130 at 2930 Hickman Road.
Okay.
B is the Come and Go number 207 at 4200 Hubble Avenue. And C is Sahota Food Mart at 1805 Southeast 14th Street. Is there anybody here to speak on 47A, B, or C? None? It's been moved.
7 yes.
All right, let's note that it's 5:38 and we end the hearings. Item 48 is review of the Zoning Board of Adjustment decision granting a use variance to allow property at 301 and 309 Southeast 8th Street to be used as a beverage container recycling facility for a term of 10 years. A roll call contains alternative motions. Select A, B, or C. Council, do we have a motion?
Yeah.
We do 48C.
All right. Would you read a C, please?
Mayor, I have a question of staff on this.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if the HEV approved this.
Which one is C? No.
Could you repeat that
This is on the south.
The historic East Village, this is in their neighborhood association.
Actually, it's outside of the.
It is outside?
Yes.
It's south of the tracks.
They go all the way down to Crevero Park now, don't they?
It's actually on the opposite side of the street. This is the BP
Okay,
station.
were they notified of this?
They received it as being an association within 250 feet.
Okay.
And they were supportive.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
they were supportive when this came to council
Okay.
initially, I believe.
I'm sorry, I was referring to 40, the next item is the BP station, but this is in there, and they did receive it, and they were supportive.
All right. Do you have a motion?
Just to clarify, what's item C? I'm not seeing it.
Decline to remand.
Okay, great. Perfect.
7 yes.
See you there, Carl. Your first motion passed.
Oh, boy.
49, review of the Zoning Board of Adjustment decision to grant a variance to a separation of distance requirement and a conditional use permit to allow use of the property at 727 Southeast 14th Street, which is a super stop, as a gas station / convenience store with alcoholic liquor sales. The roll call contains alternative motions. Select A, B, or C. Do we have a motion on this?
I'd like to move 49C.
All right, what is C?
C is actually there are alternatives provided in the roll call. C would be similar to the last item that would have council declining to remand, so the decision would become final on this date.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question of staff on this one also. Now, according to the neighborhood map that we have back here in the mayor's council room, it shows the HEV is right across the street from this.
Correct.
Did they receive notification of this, and did they approve?
We mailed notice to the Historic East Village because they are within 250 feet.
Okay.
The boundaries within 250 feet of the property. I do not believe they took a position on this request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as long as you're up here, Mike. Just for our education, the ordinance currently says that you can have an alcohol sales, and there needs to be a separation of what, 500 feet? And I believe this is 190, is that correct?
I believe they have to have, under this, it's 500 feet of separation from a church, school, public park, or licensed daycare facility.
Are you near a church?
They are 190 feet from the Calvary Grace Tabernacle Church.
All right, thank you.
And that was the variance that was granted by the board.
Mike, what's the distance between another e-liquor licensed convenience store?
We have existing, or between new licenses, a quarter-mile separation.
A quarter mile.
Mhm.
How far is it from the come and go that's catty corner from it?
I don't have that exact distance, but I believe it was outside of that quarter mile.
Right across the intersection?
I'm sorry, this already had a liquor license on this property for beer and wine sales, so there were some exemptions under the code for the quarter-mile separation from the time that previous license was issued, so.
How about on e-liquor though?
On e-liquor,
And that we're approving here?
they don't have to have a quarter mile on that. All they had to go to the Board of Adjustment for was the separation of the 500-foot from a church, school, or daycare. And this was a split vote on zoning Board of Adjustment? Yeah, it was a 4-2 vote.
Yeah.
All right.
And my understanding was their conditions were that they had to lock the liquor behind the cabinet at all times, so there could not be liquor out on shelves or displayed. It could only be accessible by the employees.
Has this church moved in, or is this just now new, subject to new rules?
I don't believe it's a new church. It's just new for our separation requirement being increased to the 500 foot.
And their license coming renewal. Okay.
And they've had beer and wine for some time, and they're just wanting to have a liquor license now. Correct. And being, what, 210 foot too close, according to our ordinance? Correct.
Okay. We have a motion?
Carl, you motioned.
Carl made it.
I thought I already
Yeah,
did.
he did.
But,
Proceed.
but
Okay.
I'll be happy to do it again if you'd like me to.
Ellie?
2 yes, 5 no.
All right.
I would make a motion to approve item 49A. Carl, I'm sorry to blow your streak of unanimous votes. I just have trouble with this. I mean, we spent all that time working on these new distance restrictions. I mean, we spent 3/4 of my term doing that, and then now to, backtrack on that, I just can't do that. So I'm going to remand this back to have the zoning board review their decision. And if they come back, then, that's their discretion. But I would like them to review it.
Thank you.
We have a motion for A.
Okay,
Just
I'll go with that.
add some additional narrative to what we send back. I really worry about the precedent after we've done this, and you let one go. If there is some unique reason, as they've studied it more, I wish we would document that and draw it so that it's clearly definable for us for future issues, and I don't see that in this.
And I agree with you. And there may be more information to be gained, but just from my perspective, as I'm reading through this is exactly what we designed the ordinance for, is for this type of situation where someone wants to get an e-liquor license. That's why we increased the distance requirement. So.
Right.
7 yes.
All right. Carl, I think you're going to get another shot. Consideration of a Class E liquor license with C beer and B wine for Superstop 727 at Southeast 14th Street.
Is that withdrawn?
Yes.
My advice, given the action on the last item, would be that council continue this item until the first meeting in January, which will give the 30 days for the board to consider the remand as it is now. It doesn't take effect, so the council is not able to grant the Class E license at this point.
Okay. So you would...
I'd recommend that we continue it to the first meeting in January.
Okay, our legal counsel is suggesting, Carl, that you might want to make a motion to continue this to the second meeting in December.
First meeting in January.
Oh, the first meeting in January, and Hallie won't be here anymore. Oh, no.
Does the first meeting give them enough?
So moved.
So moved.
Seven yes.
All right, Hallie, would you like to motion to adjourn the city council and reconvene as Board of Health? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Carl, you are now sitting on your third appointment for the evening. This is now the Board of Health. Number 1 is approving the legal department to proceed with court action seeking authority to abate the public nuisance at 2600 East Elm Street, a main structure and accessory structure. Title holder is Elaine S. Cunningham. The mortgage holder is U.S. Bank. Is there anybody here in the audience to speak to this item? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
Move.
Move.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 2 is a communication from Selena Insurance Group dated at 11/21/13 stating their insured Paul Kemp, 4701 Southeast 5th Street, sustained a fire loss on November 12th of 2013, and Selena Insurance Group is holding a fire escrow in the amount of $10,000. So we are just receiving a communication. Is there anybody here to speak to this item? Seeing none, could we have a motion to accept that communication?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Could we have a motion to adjourn? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Is there any reason to keep doing this?
Congratulations.
Well done.